Oh, hi, everybody. This is DearMamaSal, and we're live on a Friday lunchtime, which means it's time for us to talk about our feelings, coping with feelings. And boy, I've had more than my fair share this particular week. And I'm hoping you all had a wonderful Christmas, as much as you can. I realize for some it would be easier than others. And I want to just share with you today how my life fell apart over the Christmas time. But we'll get to that in a second. So, hi there to Jeannie. Good to see you here, Jeannie. Hi there to Chris. Good to see you as well. And of course to Jody, our admin, who's also popping in now. So, a very, very happy. Mm, I'd like to say mid time. Hi there, Sandy. Good to see you as well. So, and Charlotte. Hi, Charlotte. Good to see you. So, just before we start, I just wanted to say today we're going to be talking about what to do when plans go wrong. And was I the only one that had all my Christmas plans go out the window? And if any of you also had that problem, let me know. But in the meantime, while I'm busy chatting, let me know what went right for you, what your feelings were about this Christmas. Was it a quieter Christmas for you? Was it a more expensive Christmas for you? What exactly were you feeling about Christmas this year? And I'll just start while you guys are typing that up. Um, as you can probably hear, I'm still got a little bit of a cold going on, and I ended up just before Christmas. You probably see I'm a whiter shade of pale as well. Um, just before Christmas, I got a cold, and I got a bad cold. You know, a cough and sneeze and all the rest of it type things. It was interesting. Charlotte saying no, she had stomach issues over Christmas, so it was a nostalgic Christmas for her, and obviously, yeah, it was a very different sort of Christmas, wasn't it? So before we get into this, I just wanted to give thoughts and prayers, obviously, for everybody affected by that incredible blizzard in Buffalo. And if you've got family or friends there, I hope they're safe. It was really a very difficult time for everybody, and obviously for everybody in the Ukraine who's struggling with what's going on. And we'll talk more about that, I think, on Sunday under coping with stress, because boy, that must be stressful. I just wanted to wish, in case I don't get a chance to do it again, if I don't see her, but wish Nyasha a happy birthday for New Year's Day. And if any of you have got any birthdays this week that I don't know about, please let us know so that we can add it to our database, because I always try and check there before I do the broadcast. Oh, interesting. Jody's saying that she grew up in Buffalo. I didn't know that. Right. And Jeannie's saying that York, her husband, who unfortunately passed on American Thanksgiving, um, said York planned to make haddock chowder for his son John. So I decided to make the chowder. And it was John's best present. Yes, how kind of you to think of that. That was very kind of you. The quote that I have is, it's when our plans go wrong that wonderful unforeseen things are allowed to occur. Well, first of all, you might have heard that where I live ended up looking like Vermont. We had so much snow. We had 16 inches of snow. And this is, I live in southern British Columbia, where if we get this much snow, we're all panicking. You know what I mean? It's just like we don't do snow. So when we get a couple of inches of snow, we basically have to call a snow day because, we're wusses. So for us to get 16 inches was terrifying. And I don't know how it was where you live, if any of you were affected by that blizzard that came through. But I want to tell you, it was nasty. We went to minus 12 centigrade here. Jody, could you just do a quick bit of math for me? Minus 12 centigrade, and I don't think I've known it to be colder since I've been here. Um, and it was just ridiculous. Yeah, 16 inches. I mean, if you imagine it, we didn't know what to do with ourselves. Um, so between the snow and then getting this incredible cold at the same time. Um, I had to cancel all my Christmas plans. Oh, thanks, Jody. Jody's saying that minus 12 centigrade is about minus 10 Fahrenheit. Oh, no, sorry, not minus 10, 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, Sandy's saying she's in Eastern Canada. She's saying we had a terrible ice storm with wind and it snowed on our trip. Right. So the snow was so bad that, I've got a covered deck. The whole of my deck was covered in snow. You know what I mean? It's like it got underneath my deck, and the blizzard was so bad, and so driving that it drove all the snow onto my deck from both sides somehow or other. I don't know how that managed that, but it was really incredible. So I had to cancel Christmas, which broke my heart, as you can imagine. I like Christmas. I like carol singing on Christmas Eve with Betty Ann and the folks. Um, and, everybody else that wanted to come, I said, no, I'm not letting anybody near me because I've got this cold and I don't want to share it. And, there's certain things in life. I'm a very generous person, but there's certain things in life I don't want to share. And a rotten cold is one of them. And some of you will know I started getting ready for Christmas in July. That's when I started. Yes, Jeannie's saying they also had those terrific winds, and her wishing well in her garden fell over on top of a tall tree. Oh, and on top of a tall tree in her backyard. Oh, a tall tree fell down. I want to tell you, I've got a branch in my backyard that came down, and I'm not talking a twig. I'm talking a branch that came down, and it's going to have to stay there until I can have some help getting it back, getting it down. It's on that very slippery bank that I'm not going near at this time of the year, but I'm going to have help getting it down, and then I'll have to cut it up, I guess, and donate the wood. However, it's one of those things where I was really very lucky. One of my neighbors came and decided to help me by clearing my driveway. But he knows I've got like a vacuum cleaner that's a snowblower. It's as small as a vacuum cleaner, but it's a snowblower, and it's just ideal for clearing, a driveway. I've got a double driveway here, and so he likes to use it. I know that. So he came to clear my driveway for me. But not only did he eat all the snow with the vacuum cleaner, as I call it, he also managed to gobble up my brand new Christmas lights that I had going all the way along my deck and then down my stairs and then down my driveway. It was like, follow the yellow brick. I'll try that again. Follow the yellow brick road to get to my front door. And so that's a thing of the past. The snowblower thing gobbled those up and ruined them. Luckily, I've got a second set, but I haven't put them out, quite honestly. I'll do it next year. Jeannie's saying Seth and John fixed the wishing well, but couldn't do anything about the tree top because it needs a special axe. Yeah. I've got the I must admit, I've got the right tools to chop up that branch that came down, but I need somebody to help me get it to a level where it's safe for me to do that. How many of you would agree with this, that the more that plans fail, the more that planners plan? It's interesting, there are a lot of things said about being a planner. Plans very rarely go the way you want them to. So the question is, if that is true, why bother to plan? Well, everybody will tell you the people who plan are far more successful in the things that they do than people who don't. And I want to talk to you a bit about that. I still have 2 Christmases that I have postponed and will do in January. One is obviously with Doug and Jess and Damien and have that celebration. What we will do, I don't know yet. I'm waiting to hear what they want to do. So, maybe we'll all go out to dinner somewhere or whatever. But and I also have my Christmas with Yvonne and Wade to do, and so I'm looking forward to those. So after all that work on those cards, can you imagine it? I made all these cards and I couldn't even go out and distribute them to my neighbors. It was just like, I don't believe this. And I had like probably close to a dozen cards made for my neighbors. And it was just like, I can't even get out. Now, I don't know about you, but it got to sort of Boxing Day and I still wasn't getting out. And then by yesterday, was it yesterday? What are we at now? 30th. Anyway, about the following day after Boxing Day, the 27th, I would think, I thought, I'm going to go. I don't care that it's raining. I'm going to go before it gets another day past Christmas. And luckily, when I went to deliver them, uh, wait a minute, I would just want to, do any of you recognize this feeling? I'm already so late. Should I just take them back and keep them until next year? Do any of you relate to that? That there is a point where you wonder whether it's worth, taking them or not. And I thought, something? I have to always like to turn the mirror and go, would you rather get a card late or not at all? And I would rather get a card late that told me somebody cared about me enough to send me a card than not to get one at all. How about you guys? How do you feel about that? Let me know how you feel about that, because it's really an important thing to think about. All right, it was interesting. Gloria Steinem said, without leaps of imagination and dreaming, we lose the exciting possibilities. Dreaming, after all, is a form of planning. So there's a great thing to walk around your life in your home and your garden, whatever, and dream a little dream. Yeah, it's interesting. Jeannie's saying late is fine with her. Yeah, absolutely. Um, Jody's saying the same thing. I'd rather get cards late. So as I walked around, I actually saw two of my neighbors in person, and I had a note on each one of them that said on the front of it, I had them wrapped in cellophane, so that if I had to leave them on a front door, they weren't going to get ruined by the damp. But each one had a note on the front of it that said, first there was the snow, and then I got a cold I chose not to share. Merry Christmas. So I reckoned I would explain it, but it was interesting how people reacted. The people I saw one-on-one were so grateful, which made me think that they weren't expecting anything and then were just so grateful that they got something. And who knows? I don't know. Maybe it was the only card they got. I don't know about you, but people send cards less and less these days. Steve Maraboli, we quote him a lot. And he said, I'm not saying it's wrong to plan for the future. I'm warning you not to make today a victim of those plans. In other words, be flexible. I'm going to be talking later today about how important it is to go slowly. I know that sounds strange, but it really is. So what would you do if you had all your Christmas plans ruined? Now, I didn't have them ruined like the people in Ukraine, being bombed over Christmas. I didn't have things go wrong like the people in Buffalo, where, so many people died because they literally couldn't get out of that blizzard. Scary stuff, right? I just had my stuff go wrong. And so to me, I try to look at it and go, I have got extra time. I've also got a lot of extra food because, I was going out on Christmas Eve and I offered to do the salad. So I bought in lots of extra salad making stuff. I guess I'll be eating a lot of salad this week. So I just want to get up my, oh no, I can do it on here, I think. So I decided I was going to use the extra time. All right, Hawkeye is saying no valid plans for the future can be made by those who have no capacity for living now. Alan Watts said that. Yeah, there is an interesting point about that, isn't there? Hang on one second. I'm just trying to get my pictures up here. Bear with me. For some reason, my tablet didn't pick up the pictures, but I know that my phone probably will. Because I got lots, oops, I got lots of pictures for you, obviously. Right, so what I'm going to say is, I thought I'd show you some pictures about what I'm actually physically doing, or what I was doing. I walk around my house all the time going, if I wanted to make my kitchen one step tidier, what one thing would I do? Now, I don't know if you've noticed, a lot of my growing stuff has gone, and I'll show you why. But one of the things that, I've been playing with is hydroponics. And I think I showed you this plant last week. Now, this is one of the impatiens that was in my garden last year, and I've touched wood. I've managed to keep it going all through the weather so far, and let's hope it makes it all the way to the spring. And one of the ways that I'm doing it, I don't know if you can see that. Okay, can you see the incredible roots that these are just cuttings I took off a plant, and you can probably see how incredible the roots are. And I didn't do anything fancy, just literally what I do is every time it grows a strong enough stem up, I cut it, and then I got a system. I cut the stem, you see that, and it stays in there until it grows roots, or not, depending on what it feels like. Some do, most do, some don't. And then, for example, this one grew some roots, but they were pretty small, but it's been in there for a couple of weeks. And so now they're going to go and get planted into proper earth now. But I thought that you would really love to see the incredible roots on that. So now I've learned that I can keep my impatiens going over the winter. Impatience, right? That's me. However, I do want to tell you that my main goal this year, and don't laugh at me, for some reason, for all the hydroponics I've been doing, I have been trying to grow lettuce. And this year I'm going to grow lettuce. I don't care how difficult it's been for me in the past. I am going to grow some lettuce. Now, I did manage to get one going. Hang on a second. Hawkeye's saying, my Christmas wasn't good. I caught a bad cold and I'm still recovering from, but hopefully it'll all be good by next year. Yeah, you can hear, I'm sure you can hear in my voice that I still am not well. But, I'm certainly a lot better than I was. So let me just show you. I was going to show you what I've been up to. Hang on. Where are the pictures I took, so? Okay, if it doesn't want to do it that way, we'll do it the other way. Hold on one second, people. I'll do it the hard way. So I think you all know that I've got sort of like the 1/3 of my house is the front third. That has my living room, my dining room, my kitchen, and the other side of my kitchen there is like what I call the fireplace area. It's like a nook area, quite big. And then there's the middle third that has my craft room called Confetti Corner. As my craft room, my laundry, and my guest bathroom are in that middle section. And the end third has a spare bedroom, my bedroom, and my master ensuite. However, what I had, and the reason I wanted to make a change is I've got it here. I know I took the picture. Yeah. Every time I walk from my kitchen to my bedroom, I was passing this crud. And so were all my visitors. I don't know if you can see that. But, it just always, I don't think a craft room can ever look tidy. And each time, for the longest time, it didn't worry me. And then after a while, I started saying, I don't like looking at that every time. All right. So what I keep thinking about is if I wanted to fix that, what would you do? Now, for those of you who know, I've got a freezer here, which I use as a cutting table and very, very useful as well. And so for that reason, I'm thinking, what am I going to put between the freezer and my desk, which you can't see? I've got an L-shaped desk here to block that. And I don't know about you, but I thought about I could build a wall, and I'm thinking, no, I don't have the money for that. Then I thought, well, I could buy a curtain and just draw it across. And I thought, no, I don't feel like doing that either. And then I remembered that 9 times out of 10, you've already got what you need if you just look hard enough for it. And so what I ended up doing was, I don't know if you can see this. Hang on a second. Can you see that? You remember those cubies that I had on my deck? I decided to put those there, and I can show you. Okay. Don't know if you can see that, but I've put stuff in there. So some of the cubies are facing the craft room, and some of them are facing outward. So I'm using that as a display area. So that really occupied me quite a lot for that one day. And let me see. That's a better picture. Yeah, that's a better picture. There you go. So now, not a good idea, huh? It's also the place where I unpack my Amazon boxes and things on top of that freezer. So now, as you can see, when I walk from the front of my house to the back of the house, I no longer see the mess. That's what I look at. So can you see that that is a way better idea? However, I've been planning that for a long time, right? Trying to make that difference between crud and at least looking better. Now, if anybody comes in through those patio doors in the middle of my house off the deck, they're going to see the crud anyway, but I reckon those are only going to be my, good friends. So that was one thing I did. Now, the second thing I did was, and again, I'm going to show you the pictures, something I've been thinking about for a long time, and it has to do with my hydroponics. I treated myself for Christmas with a hydroponic system. Can you think you can see that? Can you? And I put it all together, and now the question was, where am I going to put it? And what I decided, I don't know if this makes sense to any of you, but what I decided was I'm going to put it into the spare bathroom. And the reason is, let me show you why I made that. The spare bathroom is one of those rooms that doesn't get used a lot, obviously, because I don't have a lot of visitors all the time. So I built it, and then I dropped it into the spare bathroom. Okay, so there is part of it with, I filled some of it up when I took that picture, not all of it. So it's actually in the bathtub. And then you can't see it necessarily, but by the time I took this picture, every single one of those little holes had seeds in it. All right. So they got little bits of sponge and they've got seeds. And I did find it, I didn't do it perfectly. There was a very slight leak at this end, which I've managed to stop. So you're saying to me, what happens when you have visitors, right? Well, let me show you what I do. I just close, wonder if you can see that. I just close the shower curtain. And so nobody knows what's going on behind that. Now, how much fun did I have building it and then getting it into the bathroom and getting all the little pods? You know, it's got those little pods in it. I thought it would be quite interesting experiment to do. Now, it's important that you see, because I'm going to be, coming back to this. I'll have to keep a special file for you. I think that's the one you can't really see it here, but on the left here, I've got a pepper plant that's already this high. It's up to this next level. Next to it is some celery that I've grown from the bottom of a piece of celery that came in from the store. And that's about 6 inches high. And then I'm waiting for those seeds. I reckon it will take about 2 to 3 weeks for any of those seeds to start working. We can keep our minds crossed. But it does keep me off the streets, that hobby. All right? And I want you to understand that it's part of my being that says I might not succeed in that. But what I have done is not only that pepper plant is definitely one that I grew myself. And the next to it, the celery, that's growing so well. We know I did that off the bottom of a piece of celery that came in the house. And then there's something, a leek. I've got a leek that is 6 inches high as well. So very exciting stuff to see how it works. Of course, getting lighting into the bathtub was difficult, but I managed to make a plan. So can you see that I've been thinking about this probably for 6 months? All right, what is my next step? Because we know that I managed to grow a tomato plant and pepper plants in my window, but they didn't produce fruit. I must admit, my pepper plant there does have one little bud on it of a green pepper that's growing, but definitely not going to be self-sustaining on that one. But it was definitely a huge step forward. So the other thing I was looking at is, can I just get the seeds to germinate? So I bought myself a couple of seeding trays, and this is lettuce. You see that? And the trick is just to keep it damp so that it can grow. And I also have some plants here. Oops. Pretty wet there. These are Arboreta, I think it's called. A yellow plant. So, and if those sprout, then I will have some flowers for spring. I have managed to grow 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, right, 14 impatient plants are now growing. That's a good start for the spring or for the summer, right? Oh no, 14, 15, another one here. 16. So I've got 16 plants. Now, the reason I want you to understand that it's worth it to me, some of you are probably going, I couldn't be bothered. 16 plants would cost me in the spring about $80. So can you see that for me, plus taxes, right? So for me, it is worth the time and trouble. I spend about $10 a week on lettuce. And that's why I want to be able to grow my own. And I will keep going until I get it right. I can assure you of that. Excuse me. I don't think I'm going to be able to do a full broadcast today, but I can try. So that was the first thing that I did. And how many of you understand that even though I couldn't do what I want to do at Christmas, I now had extra time where I could do things that I've been putting off until now? So I was really, really happy that everything sort of slotted into place. You know, the hydroponic thing arrived early so I could build it. And, you know, I just went, why don't I use the bathroom? Well, it's the guest bathroom. And I'm going, yeah, but how often do guests go in there? And you can just close the curtain. Now, I know a lot of my guests are going to want to see what's behind the curtain going glug, 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 because you can hear it going glug, 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 because it's recycling all the water with the nutrients in it. So we know that. So do you understand that what I start by doing is decide, you know, it's like the craft room. I go, I don't like that. It looks cruddy. So, okay, what am I going to do about it? What one thing could I do? All right. And what I've been doing is systematically making changes. And I just want to show you the first change I did. No, that wasn't it. Yep. And that was to make some units to contain all my papers. As you can see, all my card stock is at the bottom. And then I've got 8.5 by 11 here. And I've got other crud contained in that box. All right, so Jeannie's saying you're doing so well saving money and having fun with impatience. Yeah. You know, it's about I find I love nurturing plants for some reason. So it's very exciting for me. And what I knew, I found three more. What did I say? 16, 17, 18, 19. I now have 19 plants. You know that there's these ones like this? Now that they've got the roots, they will go into a pocket like this. And these are already growing really quite nicely. Uh-oh, 19, wait a minute. 20, 21, 22. I've actually got 22 different impatiens growing, not different. The most of them, I think they're all the same color, but 22. So you understand, normally if I went to the nursery in the spring, which I still will do, but it's now saved me close to $100 just to be able to do that. So very exciting stuff. But you know, it all started with Spike the spinach, remember? And he's still growing. Spike is still growing. For those of you who go back, was it 2 years ago that we planted Spike? Amazing. But I guess before then, I had taught myself how to keep green onions growing. You can probably see, hope you can see the roots growing there on the green onion. So all I do is I just, you know, have this system. Yeah, you can see all the roots there growing down into the water. So simple. So this one thing of green onion will last me about a season. And I cannot tell you the joy that I get just going, oh, I think I'll add some green onion on that for topping, and I'll just go and use it. Or the celery, the leaves are growing beautifully. They haven't got the height yet, but the leaves are growing really nicely. If I want some decoration, I'll cut a couple of leaves and put it on food. Works really well. Now, the other thing that I did, and I've also got a before picture on that one. Let me just show you. Is I kept looking at my spice drawer. Okay, it's before then. and look at all the mess, not just in the spice drawer, but all around it. Because that was all stuff that was stuck in the spice drawer. And it was getting more and more difficult to use it. So I decided I'm taking everything, my system, take everything out and try and only put half of it back. So that's what I did. And I made enough room so that I could put my everyday utensils that I use at the stove in there as well. Now, the reason that spices take up so much room is they're all in bottles that are different sizes. And what I did is I moved some of the spices into a drawer that I've got here that you cannot see. Oh, yes, you can. Okay. And what I've got them in is small containers like this. All right. But I also found that the container that I get my chewing gum in, all right, perfect, and it can stand upright. So this is basil in here, and then this is chives that I've grown and dried in there. And I'm realizing that it's the perfect way to reuse those plastic containers for the bigger amount of spices. And Jody came up with another great hack for me. Yeah, I don't know if you can see it, but she said take the herbs and spices that you rarely use and put them in a container. So I put them in a container above, didn't realize you can't see that, but above the microwave. So those are all part of the stuff I took out, but I've got them all contained in one container. But I hardly ever use those spices, but I know I've got them, which is really important. I don't know why it is so important to have so many spices for me. Am I the only one? And it's just like I cannot believe how many spices I've got. But I guess every time you need a spice, you get it, and then you only use it the once or twice. So the bottom line of all of this is take the time. How many of you know I've been planning spring for quite a few weeks now? Christmas, I was all ready to go until the snow hit and then the cold. So now I've been planning on spring. So my question is, how many of you have started planning for spring now already? And what are you doing about that? See, I like to dream. What would the perfect garden look like in the spring? I never create it. Yeah, I know that. But it's just like, what one thing could I do this year that will make my garden look prettier? And, that's what I'm busy thinking about. And of course, having those impatiens out there looked really beautiful last year. And so I have them under my big red tree. And when I say red tree, I have a red maple there. So it's really good. So I take a lot of time on some of these things. It's taken me 2 years to learn how to grow things hydroponically. All right. But now I'm on a roll. Now I can do it. And what I decided to do with the time that I had, not suddenly because I had extra time, was investigate different ways of growing things. Like, I don't know if any of you have heard of the square foot gardening principle. One of the problems that we have is that when we garden, we end up growing way too many seeds. And if you're lucky, way too many seeds germinate. And you're really never going to be able to use all those seeds. So part of what the square foot gardening is about is only plant, one lettuce, one this, one that, one whatever, in a square foot. And then a couple of weeks later, start the next square foot with one, so that you're not trying to grow a whole row of beans that I'm never going to be able to use. Wonder if that makes sense. Jeannie saying, I love using spices, curry, cumin, garam masala, cinnamon and sugar, Italian seasoning, tarragon, Mrs. Dash, and so many more. Yeah, I must admit that I just love it, and I love using the ones that I've grown. Or how many of you remember when I get a bunch of something in, like cilantro or something, I will then dry. I'll use some of it fresh, but most of it I just dry. I don't want to waste it. And one of the things that I've learned is that if you pulverize the stem, it has all the taste of the herb in it. So when I dry, I'm drying. Hang on a second. Yeah. I've got this whole setup in my back room. Oh, interesting. Jeannie's saying she recently discovered something called Auntie Nono's spices. Yeah. So this is how I'm now dehydrating stuff. I just take what I think they're like school sandwich bags, and they are ideal for dehydration. And I've got one of those laundry racks over a heat outlet in my spare bedroom. Okay. And just to show you how successful they have been, because they're in the dark, these are some of the green onion that I took from this plant. When it came in new, I cut all this off, and look at this. In a couple of days almost, it is totally dehydrated, but it kept its color. Sandy's saying our city has a program where they give out a certain amount of seeds and soil and then ask people to donate the excess veggies to the food bank. Yeah, if you're capable of doing it, do it. All right. So those are my green onions. All I did was throw them in there and then put the paper clip on top. I just want to take a picture of it for you. Hang on a second. I don't know if you can see that. So those are the bags just hanging on a laundry horse drying rack thing. So that's using multitasking, using the heat coming up during the winter to dehydrate. And so those are the green onions. These are leeks. How did they do? Those are leeks. Just throw them in here in the plastic bag and just put a paper clip, one of these bulldog clips on top, and then I hang it. And this one has breadcrumbs. Didn't do anything to them. Just took some leftover bread, turned it into crumbs, and then just left it to dehydrate. Oh, I hope you can see that. So, and again, it's taken me a while to learn how to do that. And of course, in the summer, I will take those bags and hang them in my very hot greenhouse window here. So we have up to 19, 20, 21, 20. I've just found more impatiens in the back room. So 20, 21, 20. So I've now got 23 impatient plants growing. Didn't even realize I got that many. All right, so here's the thing I wanted to say to you. How many of you feel the urge to rush? I'm not going to start this because it takes too much time. Or I don't need another hobby or whatever. I can assure you that when you're doing something that you love, you will make the time. And not only that, how many of you make time to play video games online? Here was the thing, in the middle of everything else that was going on around about Christmas, my internet went down. So I had no streaming and no games, I thought. And then I realized I had a couple of games that I downloaded that it doesn't need to be connected to the internet. So here's my word of warning for the winter, which is make sure you have downloaded a couple of movies so that if you do have a power outage and you can't get to your internet, at least you can watch it on your phone. Make sense? How many of you know I love to experiment? It's part of my DNA to wonder what would happen if. And I do that all the time. And it's part of what I believe keeps me interested and keeps me almost young. I like it because I challenge myself. I'm constantly challenging what I'm doing. I know people will judge me for this, all right? You can imagine people going, what on earth is she doing in her bathroom and why? Well, this pot of lettuce costs me about $6 every 2 weeks. All right. So the reason why is, what if I didn't have to buy it? What if I could just eat off my own plants? And I know that will take me a while to get to do that, but I'm on that mission. I also find it interesting because, it's like a lot of research, right? I've been researching a lot about how to grow things hydroponically, and other people seem to have no problem growing lettuce at all. They're doing it the right way. I haven't quite worked out what to do it. But I wanted to talk to you a little bit about going slowly, because going slowly is really takes away a lot of the stress. So every week I will go back and revisit my plan about how do I do this better. And I will just put the next step in somewhere in my goal setting. I want to take the next step. And I've already done that. So now the next step, obviously, is get them to actually grow. So that lot could be in my guest bathroom for quite a while, or not. But Jody gave me a wonderful example of why, taking it slowly is so important. Some of you know I've been putting in a lot of steps since November when I bought a new game called Walk It Out. Walk It Out, And basically, it's a game where you walk to earn points, and your points you get to use to build a city. Now, that probably doesn't sound too exciting, but I can assure you, once you get into this, it is very addictive. And I am putting in at least 8 to 10,000 steps a day because it is that interesting to me. And in other words, it has great music, right? And I'm just standing there watching it. And every now and then I will click and build another tree or build another bench or a light standard. I'm now getting into buildings. It's very exciting for me. But the point is, however stupid it is, it keeps me walking. So I'm doing, as I said, even while I was sick, I was still doing, I think, close to 5 to 7, I would think, minimum. And now I'm back up to 10. I did 10 yesterday, 10,000. So here was the interesting thing. Jody was saying, and I'm going to quote what she said. For instance, this is about taking your time. For instance, our printer was offline and we couldn't reconnect it. How many of you have had that problem? Oh, I've had it, Jody, and I'll talk to you about mine. So she had no smartphone, no tablet, no laptop. We had to shelve the frustrating stuff, right, and make a step-by-step plan to research the issue. It turns out it was simple that we gotten a new modem and a router, and the printer needed to be connected to the new one instead of searching for the old one. Problem solved. Jody, you solved the problem, but the question is, how long did that take you? How long did that research take you? All right? And that is the interesting thing. Is that you need to go slowly enough to give yourself time to be able to do it. I've just nuked my program. Hold on one second, please. I just want to get it back again. I want to tell you it's interesting, Jody, my printer in my craft room in Confetti Corner. I'm running it on a very old, almost Windows 95 type laptop. Actually, it's probably Windows 8 now that I think about it. But it's very, very slow. And for some reason, it keeps having an issue with the printer. It doesn't want to pick up the printer. And I have a lot of glitches in my internet here. And every time there's a glitch, it takes the printer out. Yeah, Jody's saying all that research that she did to find the right answer for her printer, it took about 20 minutes. It was the fear of it in that instance that caused the real delay. We lucked out that the first attempt worked. Yeah. I found that it's interesting when my printer goes out in the craft room, I now know I need to let Microsoft fix it, right? And I go into the printer program, and then I go to the troubleshooting area with Microsoft, and because it's something to do with the adapter, in my case, all right? And if I let Microsoft do it, it will fix it for me without me having to do anything. It just goes through and it does certain things and adjusts the adapter or whatever, tests it to make sure it's working, and then I go, okay, that's working again, that works. But finding out how to do that took me a long time. And I got very frustrated with the fact that it was happening. So now Jody is busy putting in a PS4 gaming system to keep herself and Lionel entertained for the winter months in New Hampshire. She says the gaming system is a whole different ball of wax. Though that has taken weeks. Now, the reason it's taken her weeks is she wants to be able to switch easily between one game thing and another. She still wants to be able to use her Wii, but also wants to be able to use the PS4. So she's, had to get a special adapter thing. Then she had to get new cables. All this takes time because you've got to budget it and you've got to get it working. And then every time she started to get to the next step, she found out there was something else she needed. So now she's got to order that again. However, understand that each of those steps requires thinking, logic, being able to handle the frustration. You see, it's all, if you want to look at it, it is all a very valuable thing to do. It feels frustrating, but the truth is you are problem solving. How good is that for your mind? Okay. So I was thinking as well, I've got all this salad in my freezer. Now, I've got two choices. I can throw it away, or I can make sure that every day, this week and probably for the next 10 weeks, 10, no, probably 2 weeks, I have a really nice bowl of salad every day or twice a day until I can use most of it up. So to me, it's like, it's really important to do. Jody was saying about the printer, it's difficult because I didn't want to deal with it. How many of you relate to that? It's difficult, so I don't want to do it, all right? It just seems such a daunting task, she told me, and I just wanted to get it done. You see, for people who are busy, they want to get it done in a hurry, and if it doesn't get done in a hurry, they don't do it, all right? So interesting. I want to tell you a story about my sister, and I want you to think about this. My sister is 80, 81, going to be 82 this year. All right. And one of the things that she has an issue with is she's on a street that gets a lot of leaves, and the leaves plug up the drains. And her municipality have asked people to please do what they can to keep the drains clear. Well, she lives in a whole street of people, and every time the leaves start to mess up that drain, she goes down to take the leaves away in a bucket and drag it home and then dispose of the leaves. And I said, why are you doing that? Well, nobody else will do it. So I said, you've got to remember you're 81. And if you're such a big deal, why are you doing it? Because nobody else in the street's going to do it. And I go, then phone the municipality. I don't think at 81 you should have to be doing that. And if you've got a whole street of people who don't want to do it, then let the municipality know that you just are getting too old to do it now. So I was also going to share with you my thing about my slow computer in the craft room. How many of you know it's in my master plan to get a new computer to work in the craft room? New to me, it doesn't have to be a brand new one. Yeah, Jeannie's just saying that in Moscow, Idaho, they've caught actually he was in Pennsylvania, I think, or Philadelphia, began with a P. They've caught that guy that did those stabbings. They actually announced it earlier today, Jeannie. I was watching that earlier, but she's saying she's just been watching the press conference. But, I'm really glad that they caught the guy. So one of the things I've learned, for example, is that computer is very slow to load up. It takes about 10 minutes for it just to load up. And then it takes me another 5 minutes for it to load up my program that I want for making my die cutter work. And so what I've found out is, by the way, thank you, Jeannie, for letting us know. I appreciate that. One of the things that I've now learned is to use that time. I know it's going to take about 10 to 15 minutes for my computer to fire up and get ready to do some work. So now what I do, and it's funny how I've learned to use that time, because it's not going to go quickly just because I want it to, unless I get a new computer. So I started to say to myself, what can I be doing while all that is going on? And what I've learned to do is to get all my mats that I'm going to cut paper out, they go on a special mat. And I've got them so that I can load up all my mats with paper while all the computer is trying to start itself. And it works really well. So by the time it actually is ready to go, I've got all the mats ready to go to feed into it. I decide what it is I want to print and so forth. Makes sense. So there are times when going more slowly is a good idea. I was really grateful for the fact that I had planned to do so many things in the winter, right? Because if I hadn't had the plan, I wouldn't have known what to do when the internet went out. But let me tell you what the frustration was. The frustration for me was that when I tried to get hold of my provider, what they were busy telling me is, if you go to www.com, it will tell you where the outages are and how long it's going to be. And I'm going, how can I do that when my internet is down? I mean, seriously, how can I do that if my internet is down? And I realized, to my horror, that part of my problem was I'd forgotten how we used to do it in the old days. I'm just trying to get my quotes back. Hold on a second. How did we do this before the internet? And that's what we have to remember, is we can still use phones. But we forget that. Emily Griffiths said that he who fails to plan plans to fail. All right, so let me see what happens here. Hi, Andrea in Berlin. She's saying, hello, people. Just wanted to let you know that the funeral for her mom was today. And you made time to come talk to us, Andrea. That's so kind of you. We had sunshine the whole day, and now it's raining. Well, we all send you a big hug. And Sandy is saying, right, everybody presumes that everybody has a web on their phone. Andrea is saying, I wish everybody in here a good start to 2023. Big hugs to everybody. That's great. And we send them back to you. All right. Big hugs back to you. So how about this one? Churchill said this: let our advanced worrying become advanced thinking and planning. In other words, worrying about the fact that my craft room looked like a mess doesn't achieve anything. But to go, okay, I don't like that mess, but I want to do something about it. What one thing can I do? You see, when I start thinking like that, that's using productive time. And then I go, yes, I want to do that, but I don't have the money. Okay, well, what could you do instead then? And I just keep talking to myself until I find the answer. And when I realized I already had the answer, I just needed to build it. It was amazing. And once I got it all up there and it worked, it was just like, oh yeah, that's much better. There's still a mess in my craft room, but you can't see it unless you go absolutely around that wall of cubies and see it from the other side. How about this one? I thought this was a great quote about planning. Many people seem to spend more time planning a wedding than they do planning the marriage. Or in my case, more time planning the wedding than the marriage lasted. Um, Interesting stuff. And talking about that, did you hear about the woman who was on her way to get married in Belize when the Southwest Airlines thing happened? You imagine that. She and all her family and friends had planned to fly to Belize for her to get married. The husband got there. The husband to be was already there. Some of the guests were already there because they were booked on other flights. But everybody who was going and booked on Southwest Airlines is still sitting waiting to go. So the wedding had to be cancelled. Really sad. How many of you find a certain zen in planning things? Hang on a second. I've got a page in my day timer. I can find it. We know it's here. Come on, where are you? Yeah, go insane if I can't find it. I'm not. No, it's not where I thought it was. There it is. All right, so I've got a page in my day timer like this. And what it has is it's part of my plan for the garden, all right? So it is the different vegetables that I want to grow. So I've got the vegetable is tomato, when to plant it. Basically, I can be planting tomatoes every month. So if I want to put the seedling into the ground in the spring, in March, all right, I will need to be planting seeds now, growing seeds now, which is what I've started. And then I'll be able to harvest them somewhere between July and November. All right, I found that the tomatoes kept on going all the way into November this year. And so the next one is, beans. When do I need to have the plants into the ground? And that means when do I need to be starting the seeds? And so I've got this whole thing that I'm just working the plan out. And every day I try to visit it and just take one more step of working out where everything needs to happen. So it doesn't happen by chance. All right. It happens because I'm constantly thinking about it and trying to take the next step. Jody's whole thing about the PS4. Jody, when did you actually buy the PS4? Because it must be nearly a month ago. I just want to congratulate you because you know how many people would have just thrown their hands up in the air and said, it takes too long, I'm not going to be doing it. She bought it early December. That's what I thought. So I want you to give yourself a really big pat on the back for slowly just doing it one step at a time. If you remember my Wii, WII, it broke. And I spent probably a month troubleshooting it before I brought somebody else in to try and to troubleshoot it. He couldn't fix it either. And then I spent about another month asking myself, do I want to replace the Wii? It's out of, they don't make them anymore or whatever. And I went, yes, I do. And so then I spent the time researching where could I get a secondhand Wii. And I ended up getting a refurbished one that was fully guaranteed and everything. But it came from the States. So, it's like, it cost me a couple of $100, but it was worth every part of it because it's kept me exercising. So you look at it and you go, so often the plans that we make don't go the way we want them to. And that's okay. All right? That's okay. I knew that I was sick because of the state of my house. I find when I'm not well, I drop out of the routine of getting rooms tidy, as I visit them each time. And I noticed that when I was sick, everything got cluttered up. And it took me a long time to get my kitchen cleaned up again. It's a funny thing. When I built the QB thing, I realized it totally changed the light in a room that doesn't have light. And I was really worried about whether I was going to get claustrophobic or not. But I spent some time in there yesterday and I'm fine. I've just had to change the lighting around a bit. And that's my next plan for that room, is to, keep finding the right lighting for it. It'll take me a while. So I would say that part of the fun of creating and doing things is the journey. How many of you know I really enjoyed putting the hydroponic thing together, but I was really worried that I wouldn't do it right. And then I found that the extra water did run through it. And then I saw I had one little area that just had this occasional drip. I actually said to myself, I could live with that. And I said, well, why would you if you don't have to? So I actually put some white, what do you call it? Plumber tape around it, and it stopped, right? More problem solving. And that's what I love. So to me, everything in life doesn't always go the way I want it to, and that's okay. How about this one? Zig Ziglar, very well-known motivational speaker, said, "It was character that got us out of bed, commitment that moved us into action, and discipline that enabled us to follow through." Jody, is that not true of you? All right? You now have been able to play a game on your PS4 because you didn't quit on yourself. You just kept saying, it's frustrating, yes, but it doesn't have to be finished today. I'll come back and visit it again tomorrow. And that is okay. We have become such perfectionists that we forget that some things just take more time. And we feel like we don't have the time. Well, we do. If we make the time. If it's important enough to you, you will make the time. Ralph Waldo Emerson said, good thoughts are no better than good dreams if you don't follow through. Jody didn't quit. She kept going until the stupid thing worked. Believe me, I know that problem. Mary Kay Ash, that's Mary Kay from the makeup thing. Those who are blessed with the most talent don't necessarily outperform everybody else. It's the people who follow through who excel. People who don't quit. And John C. Maxwell said, diligent follow-through. Diligent follow-up and follow-through will set you apart from the crowd and communicate excellence. Jody's saying, it felt so amazing when the system lit up and the disc was able to be installed. Yes, I totally agree with you. There's that moment where you go, I did it. And somehow or other, I don't know if you agree with this, Jody, but the moment where you get that I did it moment, you forget how hard it was. And you just feel so good that you accomplished what was basically impossible 24 hours earlier. And, I love that feeling. How many of you know when when I start to realize that I can grow impatience, it's I can do it. I've learned how to do it with impatience. I've learned how to do it with all sorts of things. Now it's a case of perfecting it. Does that make sense? It's like now I just need to perfect it and I'll be fine. Ah, isn't that wonderful? Hang on, I just want to show you. Andrea, can I share that picture? Why is she still there? Thank you. Okay, so this is a picture of Andrea's mom and dad, but the angel you will see is wearing a necklace with a pendant bit on it, and part of her mom's ashes are on that pendant. She has it wrapped around the angel. Isn't that beautiful? So grieving takes time, you know, as Jeannie will tell you. She started that process. Andrea will tell you. And quite honestly, grieving isn't about forgetting at all, right? You will never forget these people who have passed. It is always a case of you will learn to live with that grief. That's really what grieving is all about, is learning to live with the grief. And for some of us, it takes longer than others. So I would encourage you all to keep moving forward, all right? Keep moving forward with what one step can I take? You know, I hadn't planned to do my spice drawer, which is, you can't see it, it's here. I hadn't planned to redo that. But, you know, when Christmas came and I suddenly had time, I thought, you know, I think I'll just take everything out and start again. And it doesn't matter that the whole kitchen's a mess because nobody's coming to visit me because of the snow. You understand, it all had logic to it. I can make a mess and I've got time to tidy it up again. So do you also understand that a goal without a plan is just a wish? So what the plan was to take everything out and only put half of it back in that drawer and make more space, because that drawer is very close to my cooking area, you know, with my air fryer and my stovetop here. And I wanted to have more tools easily available. That's what I was planning on, was how do I make more room in that drawer so I can keep some of my tools, the ones I use regularly, in there. How many of you know that when you're doing a project like this, or Jodie's PS4 installation, failure doesn't mean you need to stop. Failure means you haven't found how to make it work yet. Right? I don't see that my failure to grow lettuce is defeat in my mind. I don't need to stop. I'm not giving up. It's just I found a lot of ways not to grow lettuce. So then I keep researching and finding out, how do other people do it? And I'll get it. You know that. I'm not quitting until I do. Well, if God allows me the time. And so to me, it's really important that I keep planning the next step, whatever that might be. I'm amazed how far I've got along my planning for spring. One of the problems that I've got, as some of you may know, I had a mastectomy recently. One of the problems I've got, it's fine with my winter clothes, all right? But in the summer, I'm going to be wearing a lot of tank tops. And when you lean forward in a tank top, you know, when you've got normal boobs, you know, this boob's still there, you know, that's fine. But when you've got a fake boob and you lean forward, the weight of the boob is going to go forward as well. And you're going to end up with people, if they happen to be with you, can look down into where you don't have a boob. And that will be very difficult. So I started to think, what am I going to do about that? Because I will want to wear tank tops, but how do I control it so that, it doesn't fall forward? And what I've done is I've bought a couple of boob tubes, in different colors that I can wear under my tank top. And the boob tube will then hold this very tight against my body. So that's one thing I've been planning. However, do you also agree that good planning without good working is nothing? All right. I can plan to do a broadcast all I like, but if I don't put all those plans together into a broadcast, it doesn't happen. Make sense? It doesn't happen. So I spend most of the week putting stuff together that I hopefully will be able to do as a broadcast. And how about this? The backbone of success is hard work, determination, good planning, and perseverance. Jody, that PS4 would not be working if you hadn't had the perseverance. Now, it was interesting that Jody wrote to me at one point and thanked me for supporting her in something. She managed to find on probably on Facebook, I think, a new to her Cuisinart, I think, no, KitchenAid, a chopper, thing. And I said, well, that's for her, it is not a luxury. It's an investment because she has such bad arthritis, she can't chop anymore. So buying a machine that can do the chopping for her, to me, isn't a luxury. That is a necessity. Does that make sense? But she had to spend the time to research it and find out what was available and wait for the right one to come up so that she could have it. It takes perseverance. So Earl Nightingale said, all you need is the plan, the roadmap, if you like. And then the courage to press on to the next step. How many people fail because they just don't take the next step? And that's sad. Really sad. So I would beg you, please, to start a spring checklist, right? You don't have to do a lot of hard work on it. Just literally start it. That would be step one. And step two is, what would I like to accomplish in the spring? Right? In my case, it was, I would like to have plants ready to put in my garden so that my garden looks pretty in the spring. Well, I actually already did that because when I answered that, and then I said, what would you put in now? Or what would you put in? And I realized that it was still fall when I started asking that question. And so what I did was I bought a whole lot of spring bulbs and I planted them in all my planters. So by the time spring gets here, I'm going to have a garden of daffodils followed by tulips. And that's already going to happen in the spring. And then once those start to die back, then the stuff I'm working on now will be able to go in. So I'm feeling quite pleased with myself that I have done that. Drucker, Peter Drucker, very well-known motivational. Actually, he's more of a management guy. He said, unless commitment is made, there are only promises, hopes, and no plans. You see, you have to be committed to do something to follow it through enough to make it happen, right? Think about Spike the spinach. It was the start of it all. Have I grown any spinach since? No. But I got Spike working, which told me that I had a way of doing it and it could work. And then I kept experimenting and experimenting. I now really do believe that I am capable of getting self-sufficient in green stuff, be it leeks and onions and goodness knows what else, in a couple of years. Now, will I be able to? Yeah, let's pray I last that long. But other people will say, but look how much you spent on it. Yeah, the funny thing is, I will keep spending on it until I find out how it works. Once I've got far enough that I know how it works, I won't need to spend as much. And then I'll be saving money. Sun Tzu said, plan for what is difficult while it is easy. Do what is great while it is small. I made cards all through the late summer and fall. And actually, in June, I started, right? And the reason I did it, and people said, oh, you really ought to sell these online. I said, I'm not ready to sell these online. I'm not ready for a lot of orders. I will fill a few, right? Well, I learn, but I'm not ready to do this in any sort of major way yet. And who knows whether I ever will be. Well, I will, and each time I'll be grateful for the ones I can sell, but it's like I've got to be more efficient to make it work. So I keep looking at that. How can I be more efficient? George Patton, the military guy, said, a good plan today is better than a perfect plan tomorrow. See, if you don't plan, you won't get what you want. I like this one. William A. Ward said, 4 steps to achievement. Plan purposefully. Prepare prayerfully. Proceed positively and pursue persistently. I've got an interesting situation. How many of you remember that sort of zigzag house thing? Hold on a sec. Okay, how many of you remember my making this thing? Well, the interesting thing was that it took a long time for me to work out how to make it. It took even longer for me to work out how to fold it. Don't know why that was such a major issue to learn how to do this. I can fold it. Okay, how to fold it so it would go into an envelope. But once I did all of those things, I knew I wanted to have a commercial license to produce it. Why? Because everybody that saw it loved it. Okay. And so then I wrote to the person who made this original thing and said, I'd like to buy the commercial license. And she said, fine, that'll be $8, but I didn't know whether it was, $8 Canadian or $8 American. Do you know, this was over a month ago that I asked the question. And she said, if you like, I'll send you an invoice that you can pay. And I said, that'll be great. Thank you. I'm still waiting. I've written 4 times. How many of you would say, well, if she's not interested, don't bother? Can I prove that I've done everything I can to try and buy that license? Yep. But there's a reason why it's not coming through. I don't know what it is, but I will keep asking. It's now in my system. Every week I ask again, and I'll keep asking until I get the answer. Could take me a while, apparently. Really weird. She missed one email. I can understand it, but I've sent about 4 now. Why does she not answer it? I don't know. Maybe she's sick. I don't know. But I'm not going to quit because I want that license. Yes, think about this one. Always plan ahead. It wasn't raining when Noah built the ark. You see, if you're always planning ahead, um, you will be less likely to get caught out. Now, how many of you know I did get caught out? I got caught out on two things in terms of the supply chain. And this is another reason why planning ahead this year is more important than ever. For example, how many of you remember I ordered salt way before the snow came, and I only got it just before Christmas Day? So, the snow had basically come and gone before I got the salt because of supply chain problems. So now I realize I have 2 bags of sand and salt and now a big bag of salt. And I'm going, I think I'm nearly ready for next year now. So, and then I will know, I've now got a note in my planner that in September, I'm going to order salt again, knowing that it could take a long time to get to me, right? So that's part of planning ahead. Have I got enough salt for the next season? I didn't get that early enough this year. Napoleon Hill said, first comes thought, right? When I was walking by and going, I don't like seeing that mess in my craft room every time I walk past. Then he said, then organization. How would I organize that better? What would need to happen? I'd need to have a barrier of some sort, a wall, a curtain, a drop-down blind was another possibility. I kept going through all these things in my mind. The organization of thought into ideas and plans, and then transformation of those plans into reality. That's when I decided, wait a minute, I can create a wall of cubies, those ones that I was going to put on the deck. And then he said, the beginning, as you will observe, is always in your imagination. So I love looking at things and going, what one step could I take to make that area look even more neat and tidy? I might not be able to do it this week or this month, but it goes into my planner. I want to tidy up that corner. And the funny thing is, you'll be amazed, every time I go to make coffee, I keep thinking, what else can I remove from here? And now because I've started the hydroponic garden, I've been able to remove a lot of the plants that were growing on my worktop there and on the one that's there. Why? Because I've now got them in the hydroponic system. So, yeah, one step at a time. But it looks like I spend a lot of money, and I don't. When I say I don't, I know what I need next, and I start planning it. And then I just start researching it, and then I start ordering it, bit by bit. And those little things that were hang on a second, in my craft room, I kept saying, I need a better way to store the paper, the 12 by 12 paper in my craft room. So I did some research. There we go. That's a nice picture of it. I did some research, and I found that these units here, can you see these here, were available from IKEA. So, and then I was busy doing something else, and I went, that's interesting. Then I found out IKEA, you can buy IKEA on Amazon now. Did you know that? And I've got a picture of the other part of my office. Oops. Hang on a second. You see, I've got another one of them there. Really useful. So I bought 4 units like that. Yeah, you can now buy certain IKEA items online. And boy, does that save you money. All right? because they deliver. You don't have to pay $40 for delivery, because IKEA will, Amazon will deliver it if you've got Prime. So I'm learning. Yeah, but Jody, you know how much research I did, and every time I looked at, I kept researching how to organize your craft room. Now, how many of you have seen that cupboard that you open up and it turns into this incredibly tidy, organized thing? But that's like $400 or $500. I don't have that sort of money. So I think I got those 4 units for about $100 delivered. So that was worth it to me, because I knew it was going to tidy up a lot of things, and it did. However, because I had to move so much stuff to get those cubies up and everything else, you also know I created clutter like you cannot believe. And all I did is I took all the clutter and put it into a series of cubies. My job this week is to systematically go through those cubies, throw stuff away, and reorganize, put things into the best place. So hopefully by next week, I'll be able to show you a much cleaner craft room. That's my plan. But it won't happen unless I spend the time to do it. Think of all the time that Jody spent on that PS4 making it work. Jody, I've got to ask you, the moment you said, yes, it works, did you also say it was worth the effort and the time? Because all the time it's not working, it's frustrating. But then I always try to remember Edison, who's tried so many times to build the light bulb. And just every time he failed to do it, he said, it's just another way, it doesn't work. I found one more way it doesn't work, which must be leading me to the way that it does. Jody, how many things did you try that didn't work that led you to the one way that did? And once you do that, was it worth the time? You bet it was. Because most people would have quit. All right, and Jody's saying, absolutely, it was worth every moment of frustration. To see Lionel's face light up was priceless. I believe you. I totally believe you. And that is why I say to you, I knew that you really wanted the PS4. Because even though you'd spent the money, some people would have just said, it's not worth the money, I'm just throwing it away. It's too hard. I can't do it. I assure you, when I started to try and learn that program that I walked to, the instructions were totally inadequate for what you had to do. It was just like, how frustrating was it? You bet it was. How long did I spend going round and round I actually managed to get it going, but then I couldn't get out of the stadium. It was just like, why didn't they word this better so that I could get out of the stadium? So one of the things I've said to Jody, because she's also got the program and she'll be starting that soon, but it's just like, let me know how long it takes you to get out of the stadium. But, if you want it badly enough, you'll keep trying things until you can do it. And that's the trick. Because I'm going, well, I've got the program working, but now I'm still not sure what I'm doing. And why do I keep just going round and round in circles? That's not much fun. And then you went, there must be a way to get out of this stadium. And I found it. Just took a while. So think about it. All those plans for Christmas that I started so early, shattered. Heartbreaking it was. But as Jody said, when I went out to deliver a few of those Christmas cards by hand, and I got to see people's faces light up when they said, thank you so much, Sal. And I said, it's a pleasure. And then one person wrote to me and said, Sal, I want to thank you for the beautiful card. I don't even want to begin trying to tell you what happened to yours. And I went, it's okay, I understand. And how many of you would have not even bothered that because nobody gave me one? If nobody gave me one, why would I bother to give out to people? Well, I can tell you why. It's who I am. That's why. I am the person that will hand you a personally made Christmas card. So, it's just like I'm not changing who I am, not dependent on what other people do. I am who I am. And, that's all there is to it. Jody's saying, Sal, you have a very special way of turning life's lemons into the most delightful lemonade. I got a lot done this week. Stuff I didn't imagine doing in the winter, never mind in 1 week. Right? I got hydroponics that I wanted. I got a craft room makeover. It's in the process, but it's nearly there. My spice drawers are tidied up. And all that happened because my Christmas plans got nuked. So a lot of people, and I understand this as well, when they get a cold, they curl up in a ball and, feel sorry for themselves. I just knew I had a cold. Didn't mean I needed to curl up in a ball. It meant that I just couldn't give it to other people. But did I spend more time resting? Sure. And then I started to play word games, because I'm quite a wordsmith. So I started to play word games, and boy, that's a waste of time. Very addictive. Yeah, I've got about 20 games going on at the same time, and I'm going, this is a total waste of my time. It's fun to do every now and then, but boy, can that waste your time. If you want to know how to make more time in your day, stop watching TikTok. How many of you know that once you start watching a movie, a clip on TikTok, you're there for the next hour, watching more and more, and you're just going more, another one. It's just like, it is an obsession. It is a not healthy obsession. And it's designed to make you want to do that. Short attention span stuff. And I have to remind myself, if I want to get anything done, I've got to stop doing the things that are unproductive. Think about that. If I want to get anything done, I just need to stop doing the stuff that's unproductive. So what is it you want to get done this week? What is it you want to start? Did I give you permission to spend a whole year doing it? But the thing is this, what do you want to start? So, and do you want it badly enough to actually do it? You'll know. Because if you end up with success, then the answer was yes. And if you didn't, you quit on it, that means you didn't want it that badly anyway. Quite simple, really. And that's something that most people don't understand. We choose to fail when we give up. We choose to fail when we give up. Okay? So don't give up. Don't be that person. Be the person that keeps taking one more step. And the same thing about the tree branch. It's a big branch. I can't get it. I could, if I really wanted to strain a muscle, I could get it probably down that tiered garden that I have and onto the ground. But why would I? It can wait there until I have help. And I will get it soon. It's on my list, that I need. There's another thing that I was planning for the winter. I wanted to enclose my covered deck. And so I spent a lot of time researching, and I managed to find tarpaulins that are clear, like thick, very thick shower curtains, especially made for patios and things. And so I bought a couple. And they've been sitting here for over a month because, I plan to have them there before the winter. But I haven't had anybody that can help me do it. I haven't had anybody here for enough time that they can help me put them up. So in the meantime, I'm doing all the prep work, I bought the hooks that it'll need to go on and all those sort of things. Right now I need to get the hooks in place. So that means measuring and then putting a hook on so that when somebody does come to help me, it'll be quick to get them up because all the hooks will already be in place. But again, I don't want to be climbing up ladders and things without somebody with me. So I will just know where they have to go, you know, so I don't put myself at risk. Everything is possible. And, asking for help is difficult. I don't mind telling you. But it also gives me a reason not to do it yet. So I hope you understand that the blow up at Christmas was so sad. I genuinely was sad. But I was glad to have the time to get better. And I was glad for all that I eventually accomplished because of it. If you have your plans ruined for any reason, you can choose to make it into a good thing or a bad thing. I want to go back to the Southwest airline debacle, where all those flights got canceled. And now you had all those people on those canceled flights with all their luggage somewhere. People having major problems trying to find their luggage. And then there was this one woman that you might have heard about. And what she did is she found her suitcase. And then she noticed a lot of the suitcases had a return tag on it, but also a telephone number. And so she sat with her case and started to text people, if you can imagine doing this. And she's going, "Hi, you don't know me. My name's Jane, and I'm sitting next to your luggage. This is what I'm wearing. I have found your suitcase." Can you imagine how many people loved her to bits in the moment and how much reward she got? Instead of sitting there complaining that she couldn't get on a flight, she was busy helping people find their luggage. I don't know about you, but that's the sort of person I like to be, don't you? This is about, there has to be some good I can do while I'm here. What is it? Right? Yeah, Jody's saying that's a very special soul. I was watching an interview about a young man who realized how many people were in desperate need of food or whatever. And he was hearing it, in his local community that people were struggling. And he said, where are they, who's struggling? Well, I know John, is struggling. He can't get out and he hasn't got toilet paper or whatever, food. And he just went and got food and toilet paper and took it to John. But then he started because John said, "Well, what about Mrs. Black? Who's Mrs. Black?" "Well, she's my friend on the next building. Maybe she needs something." So he went over and asked Mrs. Black, "Do you need anything?" "Oh, honey, thank you so much, but, I can't afford it." "I'm not asking to get paid, Mrs. Black. What do you need to be able to survive this?" He was using his own money to help people. So you go, there are very special people in the world doing a little thing that is making a big difference to a lot of people. So, Jody, I know you're a very special soul. All right? No doubt in my mind, you're a very special soul. And you keep doing things that most people with half the illnesses you've got wouldn't even dream of doing. So you keep up the good work, honey. And if getting a chopper makes your life easier, don't see it as a luxury. See it as essential. It's going to keep you making food longer. And that's what you love to do. I know you love to make food. So being able to do that is very, very important. So I say to you all, yeah, I could have quite easily taken those Christmas cards and hidden them away and delivered them next year. They weren't meant for next year. They were meant for this year. So I took them. And I'm glad I did. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, you either bring joy into your own life or you don't. The choice is yours all the time. So as we move from the Christmas season into New Year, I will see some of you this evening when I cook up. But other than that, remember, there's so much good you can do in the world, and you will always have the time if you want it, because you'll give up something else to give you the time to do it. This is Dear Mama Sal saying, love you dearly. We'll see you later. Bye-bye for now. Thanks, Jody.